Hello and welcome to the God is a Geek podcast. My name's Adam Cook and I am I don't know why I said it like that, but I'm going to keep going. I'm joined here by Gary Bailey.
Hello.
I thought I said my name a bit weird though. I almost thought it did like an American accent, but maybe I'm worrying. I don't know. Nicola Ardron, did I put on an American accent?
I don't think you did, no, Adam. I don't
Okay,
really know
then...
what was going on there.
Okay, well what I'll do is in post I'll put me saying it in an American accent in to make you two look foolish and not myself. How is everyone? Is everyone good?
Yes, good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm alright.
Surviving, because
Good one.
I don't know. Oh, damn it! I didn't mean that. Shit. Oh, that would have been really good if I meant it, wouldn't it? That would have been so good.
That was perfect,
no, I meant
Adam.
surviving because you know we're not that far really from the end of the year, and like, hey, Pokemon Let's Go, which we're going to talk about this week, has just come out. Fallout 76 has just come out. Hitman 2 is out, which no one's talking about. We've got Just Cause 4 to come. We've got an action game called. I think it's called Super Smash Brothers. I don't know. Some sort of action game, action platformer. I think it is. No. Few have. Nintendo certainly have. But we're gonna listen. I hate to say this, but if you don't like the idea of a nuclear fallout, then well, to be honest with you, you're probably not in the UK because you're gonna have to start getting used to that kind of thing over here. Political humour.
Topical there, Adam.
Topical, yeah. Wow. Let's not and say we did. Fallout. Well, literally, that works. That actually works. Let's not and say we did. Anyway, Fallout 76 is a video game that has Fallout in the title. It's not. Well, maybe it is. It's the 76th Fallout title, which I'm guessing, Nicola, is why it's called Fallout 76, because that's how game names work, isn't it?
I don't know, why is it called Fallout 76? Do we know? Or is it just because... Is that the name of the vault? That's the name of the vault, isn't it? God, my God.
It is, but...
I've just
then,
had a brain fart there.
but what are the other games? You all come out of a vault in those, don't you? They're numbered.
Yeah.
Well, what would you call it otherwise?
Well, it's...
I mean...
Well...
Fallout 5.
No.
Fallout Online?
No, that's terrible, Gary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I suppose 76
I would
is
call it... I'd call it Falling Out. A Fallout story. The Fallout? I don't know.
We're in an age where you've got Hitman 2, even though it's not the second Hitman game. So, you know, the titles don't mean anything anymore.
We're also in an era where Square Enix put out backwards compatible games that are called Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13-2, and Final Fantasy 13-3. So, I don't know. Game name. What I'm getting at is that game names are stupid. Is Fallout 76 stupid? That's the question. Because there's been reviews popping up. Like everyone, we got code kind of when it came out. Well, that's not fair. We had time to... you had time to download it, didn't you, Nicola?
Yes, I did.
Which is
and
that's not being fun. It's
went
appreciated.
live. The servers went live on the Tuesday before launch day, so I did get a couple of hours in before launch. But yeah, I've been playing it along with everybody else who bought it or didn't buy it. The week on Wednesday.
Which, in its defence, I don't know that this kind of game would even... I sound like I'm falling into a publisher's trap here, or a PR person's trap, but like a bit like Destiny, a bit like, I don't know, other games of its ilk. You kind of need to be playing it on live servers, and there's an argument to be made they could have let people... They could have turned the servers on for media. I've always said that they could and should, but you could... Even in the email with the codes, it's like, look, this is an online game. Please spend a lot of time with it. Please play with people. Nonetheless, reviews are up, and I don't think they're very positive at the moment.
No, I mean, I haven't read... I've only read one review.
No.
I haven't read any reviews. I have seen a lot of, shorthand criticism on Twitter. And obviously I've seen some of the fan... reactions to the game. I mean, I've always felt that it wouldn't really review that well anyway. I don't know why. I felt like it was gonna... its days were kind of... Not numbered, because that suggests that the game's a failure, and I don't think it is a failure in
It'll probably sell all right, because it's Fallout.
I don't know, Adam. I don't know. I mean, I've been playing
Let me put it this way. I think it will sell better than Hitman.
Maybe, and probably, as you say, because of the name. The name.
Yeah.
And the name, I think, is a big issue. with this game. Let me just like get this out of the way. I like Fallout 76. I have been having a good time with it. I've got about 13 hours in it at the moment.
Okay.
I still don't feel like I can, write the review and put a score at the bottom of it, because in all of those 13 hours, I've just played it on my own, and I really do need to have some friends or make some friends, which is proving difficult. I don't know whether my reputation precedes me or not on the online.
Well, everyone's frightened you're just going to somehow draw a cock and balls and everything. Like, you're going to get people's loot, and their t-shirts are going to come out with penises. No, but we should say that obviously we record this in advance, and by the time you actually hear this, the likelihood is that Nicola and I will have played it. I've started on PS4. I haven't got a lot to say about it. I'll get it out of the way real quick. Nicola, I kind of want them to not make any more Fallout after this for a very long time. I kind of want them to go and not just update the engine. I hate myself for saying this. I just want it to look better.
I mean, at times though, it is quite pretty. Like the light, the light occlusion. That's the word, isn't it? But sometimes it looks really good when you're walking around and you get the lights like dancing between the trees or whatever. And obviously, West Virginia, or the place that this
Mountain
is set
Mama.
is Appalachia. I don't know. I've been calling it Appalachia. Yeah, I've been calling it that all my life. But
Appalachia?
Appalachia, the Appalachian Mountains and all of this, that and the other. I've been calling that all my life, and yet in-game it's called Appalachia. So
I don't know that means you're wrong. I don't know that.
Who knows? Who knows? Well,
if you're wrong, I'm wrong too. Then.
Well, exactly.
And it sounds like Gary is also.
Exactly. It may be.
We have US listeners. Maybe they can.
Yes,
clear
we
it
do.
up for us.
Yes. Anywho, pronunciation aside, the world is a lot lusher than you.
It's definitely less sort of dull.
So at times it's quite pretty.
Visually.
I mean, it's not a good-looking game by any stretch, but there are times, in the same way that at times Fallout 4 could be quite pretty. Like the skybox is quite nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, that's fair.
It's just that when you're indoors,
it looks.
It does look a bit. It is rough. It looks rough.
But you know what killed me early on? And I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I've always been going to be honest with people. I've played, I reckon, less than 2 hours at this point. And I will explain why later. But I will say the first hour where you're wandering around Vault 76, right? It does this thing that I never understand how games do this. So you wander around Vault 76 and you gather it. It's basically a tutorial. It's giving you, not loot. It's giving you stuff.
Yeah.
That you'll need
like a care package.
Real early on.
Yeah,
a care package. It's giving you I don't think it gives you a weapon. It gives you like your camp thing. It gives you some materials to build with.
Yeah.
And then you get to the exit of the vault and the door opens up in dramatic fashion. There's this light blooming through specifically to blind you to see the other side, because once you go through the other side you hit a loading screen, and I don't know why, but stuff like that stands out to me because I feel like they knew, because they designed the game, they knew that they were opening up to this dramatic look at the beautiful West Virginia, and there's a loading screen. It's like, surely in the background you are wandering around. I don't know, but I suppose it is like any other Fallout game where you load into some buildings, but just that big reveal, right at the start, we're talking half an hour into the game, that big reveal for me is like, you fucked that. You did not land that big reveal the way you maybe think you did, because you just then load on the other side of the door and the door's shut behind you, and it's like, not to be too harsh, but other games don't do that anymore. That we have gotten to the point, and that's one of the things that bugged me about Spider-Man actually, was the loading in and out of, in and out, and I just, Fallout to me. And Fallout 4 did as well, I will say. I liked Fallout 4, but I felt already fatigued by Fallout at that point. I hoped that 76 would be the kind of, I'm finally back in, they've done something different. What I've played of it so far still feels quite old, like they need to do something.
I definitely agree that they really need to, completely rebuild or build a new engine, because it isn't a good looking game. I mean, like I say, at times it can look quite nice, but it's not, in this day and age when we've had games like Horizon Zero Dawn, or Spider-Man look great, God of War look great. Not that I've played God of War yet, but even compared to,
because I mean, what I'm not saying you're being unfair, but you've compared like this big open world thing to like a authored experience, but even compared to a Sea of Thieves, Destiny, which again is a lot of like this is a ruined place.
Yeah.
But Destiny, you can't pretend that doesn't look, whether you like Destiny 2 or not, it still looks good. And consistently so. And like Sea of Thieves, it's got its own art style. But then I kind of look at Fallout 76 and I wonder what a Fallout game would look like if the cartoony art style of like the Pip-Boy stuff, I wonder what a Fallout game would look like if they went with that art style for the game. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's valid criticism that the engine is old, and I'm trying to think of another game that runs on an old engine as well. It'll come back to me. But I mean, that criticism is valid. It's definitely not a great looking game. The overriding thing that I'm having with it is that I'm having to try and divorce myself from the idea that this is a Fallout game. Right. And I'm trying to reposition it that it is a survival crafting game with a Fallout skin. That's how I'm trying to rationalise it. And, like, if you recall, I reviewed Conan Exiles on PS4.
Yeah.
And it's a game very... Exactly. They had a penis slider in it. And, Fallout 76 is very much a game in that vein.
Okay.
You're plonked into the middle of this world and you have to gather resources, food, water, build yourself a rudimentary shelter, these kinds of things. And... If you're kind of approaching the game from that perspective, and of course that kind of game pushes your buttons, which it does for me, as you know, a huge Minecraft fan, I think it works. Where I think some of the criticism I've seen, and this is just my opinion, but where I think some of the criticism I've seen is it can't seem to divorce themselves from the idea that this is a Fallout game, and that it's almost like people are disappointed that it's not Fallout 5. And I'm disappointed it's not Fallout 5 as well, but if you can kind of get rid of that idea that it should be Fallout 5, i.e., a massive open world RPG, if you can get away from the idea that that's what this game is, because it absolutely isn't an open world RPG, and all of the talk of there's no NPCs that's predominantly one of the biggest things, that doesn't matter, because the game is a survival crafting game, and ultimately it is about you going out and finding little bits of information that might lead you to other places, but ultimately what you're doing is gathering resources to build and survive. That's what the game is. And again, people might not be turned on to that idea or think that sounds like a good game, and that's perfectly reasonable. Like Conan Exiles, for example, or even Ark. Again, another game I think this is very similar with, it shares a lot of DNA with. If that isn't your bag, then absolutely Fallout 76 isn't going to appeal to you, because that is ultimately what this game is. It isn't a complex RPG that has you going to a place and meeting a cast of characters who are, who you can talk to and interrogate, and then they're going to send you off on a mission. There are some missions that I think are definitely very Bethesda, in the, I did an amusing one earlier on where it's actually one of the overarching missions, I believe, and I ended up at this training camp, this military training camp, that was completely staffed by the sort of Mr. Handy or Mr. Gutsy style robots. And there's a terminal that explains why they're there. I mean, it's all very neat to explain why there's no human NPCs, but if you kind of position this game, this is 25 years after the bombs have gone off. Vault 76 was set up as a vault where everybody must survive, because of course, you know, in terms of Fallout lore, not all of the vaults were meant for people to survive. There was research vaults, you know, they were doing trials, you know, like super mutants are the result of, you know, experiments going on in other vaults. Vault 76 was very specifically a vault where people were supposed to survive. That was the remit of the Overseer. They had to make sure that the people in that vault survived. And at 25 years later, on Reclamation Day, they're released out, and their job is to rebuild America, or certainly, you know, rebuild West Virginia. It makes sense that everybody's perished. You know, a bomb has gone off, a nuclear bomb. Yep. And people have died because of the nuclear fallout. It makes sense that there's nobody alive. And a lot of the robots and stuff there have been, you know, put in place by the survivors to try and keep things going whilst they're concentrating on surviving, you know, like getting water, getting food, helping people, you know, this kind of thing, because there's lots of little bits of information that you can pick up and read. So in my mind, thematically, not having NPCs fits with where, you know, the story that's been set.
So talking about, like, I think I agree for what it's worth. I think that's fair. But you said about things obviously that are and aren't there. That, to change tack slightly, you mentioned a little bit ago about how, you know, the game name is a problem for some people. It's called Fallout. People are expecting a Fallout game.
Yes.
One thing that rings to mind when you talk about that, when you talk about the kind of overall what this is, I kind of can't help wondering that if it would have been sensible to remove VATS. Because VATS are in this game, and for those who don't play Fallout games, VATS is basically you press a button, the game slows to a, I don't know what the actual speed is, but very slow. It's like a quarter speed. You can target ahead and get a percentage chance. It's the RPG-ness. It's the kind of old school isometric-y Fallout still part of it. In this, the game moves at normal speed. You can still target, but it's, I don't know. Again, very early in, it didn't seem like it needed to be here.
No, I mean, yes, I get that. I get that criticism. There's some stuff that they've carried over that I think doesn't necessarily work in this way. VATS is definitely one of them. Now, initially you can press VATS and it will, excuse me, it will target the entire enemy. And that's very useful, actually, for the melee attacks, particularly, you know, you get attacked early on by some dogs, for example, and if you're using the VATS, you know where they are. And, you know, swinging your weapon. Because let's be honest, the combat in Fallout has never been its strongest point.
Well, that's the thing I was going to ask you as well, is if they did remove VATS, are you not left with quite a bad first-person shooter?
Yes, you are. You are. And again, I think that is valid criticism. But again, if I go back to Conan, my God, the combat was impossible in Conan. It was
it was
dreadful.
Combat.
And you know I'm not supposed to compare this to another game. I'm supposed to play the game and review the game that's in front of me, but I can't help compare it to the likes of Conan. I scored Conan, I think, a 5 out of 10. But I had a great time playing Conan. A great time. It's a deeply flawed, broken game. And I will say this now, Fallout 76 is a deeply flawed, broken game, but it is in better shape than Conan was and is. And as far as I understand, because I haven't played Ark, but for people I know who've played Ark, it's in a better
I mean,
shaped than Ark.
even 2 hours of Fallout 76. As much as I'm probably going to play some with you, so we can play some multiplayer, and maybe it will hook me. I don't know. You can't see the future. I mean, people will probably know by now when they hear this as it goes live on the Wednesday. But I would still rather play Fallout 76 than Ark. I don't like Ark, and I know Ark is wildly popular. I have played Ark on PC in various stages of its. Well, is it out now? I think it's out now. I've played it on Xbox. It's a. Do you know what? Last week we had that question about games that are hugely popular and you don't get Ark. I don't like Ark.
A lot of people
one
don't.
criticism. No, I mean, but a lot of people love it. One criticism because again, you mentioned earlier that you haven't read reviews, and obviously the reason for that is because you're going to write one yourself, and I think most of it, I know I do it, and I know Gaz, and in fact I think all of our team, it's not an edict I ever set out, but I think you shouldn't read someone else's reviews. You shouldn't read like 10 reviews of a game before you write your own. That's just not a good way of doing it.
No, and obviously in most cases you don't have that ability to anyway,
that's true as well.
You're all writing at the same time. But yeah, I the only review I've read is one that got shared.
I shared
and
that.
And I think that was overly harsh. I think there was valid criticism in it, but the score that was given I didn't feel reflected the text, in my opinion. But that's beside the point.
The reason I mention the reviews is because, I'm not going to start reading reviews to you here, but the one, because I'm not reviewing it, and so I'm allowed to read reviews, if you know what I mean. But the one criticism I've seen of it pop up quite a bit, and I think you may have seen this because I remember seeing it on Twitter, is that, and again, you said 13 hours or whatever, so I don't know if this is the sort of thing that shows its head at that point or not. I would imagine it probably has, is one of the complaints that sounded actually like quite a big issue, or potentially a big issue, is the amount of storage space that you have at your disposal. And the suggestion was that in a game that is kind of about the loop of find things, get things, make things, there isn't enough space. And the concern was, will they update that, in terms of, because they were quite good about, we've seen your feedback, we want to change it. Or will they say, hey, do you want more storage space then? Pay $15. I'm not putting words in their mouth. Nobody has suggested they may do that. But
Adam,
that
it's
sort of
a
thing
survival
reminds me of
crafting game.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to carry more, you have to invest in perks that allow you to carry more, like they did in Fallout 4. Or you need to modify armour to give you pockets that allows you to carry more, like you could in Fallout 4.
Encountered an issue, because I think one of the things was saying, because there's a box like it's kind of a Resident Evil style box, isn't it? Where
your
it's like
stash box, yeah,
and that wherever you go, the stash box is. It's kind of you might have left it in the stash box place X, but now you're in place B, and it's the Resident Evil item box basically. And the criticism I read was that didn't have enough space. And again, I don't know, so I never misunderstood it.
It has a 400 capacity.
Okay.
I'm 13 hours into the game and I haven't filled it.
Okay,
Furthermore,
and you haven't even.
I can build another one.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So I don't see the problem.
Okay, then I've either overestimated the criticism I saw or that criticism. And I'm not going
I
to throw
think
whoever
I've
that is
seen
under
that
the bus.
criticism as well, actually. Like I say, I've seen
I
stuff
read it.
on Twitter that people are moaning about, and I mean, I've myself have had little grumbles, saying, "Oh, for fuck's sake, like water, like your aid items have weight." And, in a game where you've got hunger and thirst to manage, it's a little bit annoying to know that, your boiled water has weight to it. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but then I think back to Fallout 4. That was all about gathering junk items, wasn't it? Whenever you went anywhere, you were constantly grabbing a load of stuff, weren't you, to bring back so that
Jesus
you could...
Christ, yeah.
Exactly. And the ways that you could combat that, you put pump points into strength, and there's plenty of ways that you can increase your carry capacity. I mean, I've seen perk cards, like a pure strength one to increase your carry capacity. I've seen one where, food and drink items have, let's say 20% less weight, other stuff where you can actually reduce it. And of course, like I say, you can modify your armour so that it's pocketed, which will increase your carry capacity as well. So there's ways round it.
I mean, I was quite surprised to read that as I was, because kind of I was going to say Fallout, but Bethesda generally are kind of the kings of open every drawer, pick everything up. Like that's like even Dishonored and stuff does that. Like Prey does that. Like Prey, you are opening every drawer and picking up. I mean, and that and inventory management. But the criticism I read again, I'm not purposefully not saying who it is. I just don't want to throw anyone under the bus because maybe I misinterpreted it. But the fact you can actually just build a second one of them stash boxes has made me sort of go a little bit at the criticism I read.
Well, Adam, I'm just thinking there, encumbrance was something in Skyrim, for Christ's sakes.
That's what I mean.
They are. Was that same person complaining that encumbrance was an issue in Skyrim?
Well, it's a games critic, so probably.
Maybe. I mean, encumbrance is a pain in the arse. It is a pain in the arse. I'm not going to lie.
I'm joking. Just before anyone listening I'm just mucking around the games critic thing. Just a joke. Everyone just can't. So,
I mean,
again,
Adam, encumbrance was an issue in Witcher 3, fuck's sake, and everybody says
encumbrance.
That,
it was. Yeah,
everybody says that's
and 2,
well, including me, the finest Western fantasy RPG I have ever played, and yet encumbrance was an issue in that. So.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, nobody likes encumbrance, but it's not a unit. So, I'm not going to ask you to score it because that's not fair.
I'm not ready.
You literally have said no. But what? Let me put it this way, right? If you hadn't been given a code and said, "Could you review this, please?" But someone had given you it as a present. It was your birthday recently, wasn't it?
It actually was my birthday on release day.
There you go. So it was a sort of present. Well, let's not pretend it wasn't a present. Well, if you liked it. Anyway, the question is, if you'd been given this as a gift, and say from your other half or something, so that because you're at the point, I'm sure, where you've got a child that's old enough that I'm guessing you've been married enough that you can be pretty honest with one another. And he gives you this nicely wrapped Fallout 76 disc, and you play it and you start playing it. You get 13 hours in, and again, this is not Nicola scoring it. This is just a hypothetical. Are you at the point where you would go, I'm actually going to carry on playing this because I'm enjoying it enough, there's enough here that interests me? Or would you be like, well, look, the thought was there, but I'm going to go play Spider-Man? You know what I mean?
If I could have some pals playing it, I would absolutely carry on playing this game. Because, as I say, it pushes my buttons. Right? And I played about 25 to 30 hours of Conan Exiles.
Wow.
So
that's a trooper right there, listeners.
It's the kind of game that I like, and I feel like I'm going to have to maybe caveat that in my review in some way. Maybe not as explicitly as that, but I'm someone who played Fallout 4, who hasn't finished Fallout 4, but spent 30 plus hours just doing the building part of it.
But you see, I think it's absolutely fine. I mean, this is inside baseball, but if you're to say in a review, look, this is what I think, but in the closing section, you literally say, but look, take this with a pinch of salt that I like these kind of games.
Yeah.
Because if you've, I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like, and this is not me blowing smoke up your arse, and Gary, seriously, tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but I've read a few bits about Fallout. I looked at some preview stuff via the beta. Nicola, to me, has actually made me think about this game in a different way. Like, I was thinking, I was in that trap of, it's a Fallout game. And now how I'm thinking about it is, it's Long Dark, it's Metal Gear Survive, it's Sea of Thieves. And those games are of, in the same way that, like, the Dark Souls games aren't for everyone, I do feel like survival games are quintessentially not for everyone, and some people will loathe them. And it being called Fallout is not going to change, is not going to make you enjoy a hunger management issue. It's not going to make you enjoy trying to survive. And you've genuinely, for the first person who has made me realise what kind of game it is. So when I go play it again now, I'm going to maybe have a different mindset, because all I was thinking of, God, this looks like a Bethesda game. God, it's janky. God, it doesn't look great. Christ, why is VATS like this?
I mean, let me just say, it is a Bethesda game. It is janky. It has all of the Bethesda bugs that you would expect. Like, for example, there's a side mission that I can't complete because it just won't bring me the dialogue box up to complete it. I've seen things floating in the middle of the air. I've had frame rate drops. I've even done, because I did watch Digital Foundry's performance review of it, and I was like, my God, that looks dreadful, right? But then I was saying, actual game played experience,
right?
Don't get me wrong, I have had frame rate drop.
Yeah.
And I have had that weird sometimes that you have in games, like if you are moving through an area and it's loading it in. So it's a kind of like, it pauses briefly as it does it. It's like a fraction of a second of a pause. So there is that. But the frame rate drop, they specifically focused on an area in the map called the Top of the World. And I saw that and I was like, my God. And it actually came up saying that the Xbox One X had the worst performance in that area. But they also caveated it saying it wasn't consistent. It wasn't consistently bad, so much so that they could say this is a problem in this area. So, I mean, it's very techie, all the Digital Foundry stuff, and I can't pretend to understand it. But I went to that area and I didn't have frame rate drop at all. So
what are you playing? You're playing on PS4,
yes,
normal or
just
Pro?
a standard PS4. So I didn't have frame rate drop in that area. I have had frame rate drop in another area. In fact, to be honest, there's probably only 3 occasions where the frame rate has dropped to a point where I'm like, wow, this is bad.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, again, isn't a good thing. I'm not saying that is a good thing, but I'm also saying that my experience in the 13 hours isn't that this game, it is poorly optimized. I'm gonna say that now. It is poorly optimized. That is one of the criticisms I have of it. But it isn't so much so that I see this absolute scathing criticism of it. I mean, again, I think back to Conan Exiles, and that, like, my God, sometimes that would chug. Like, you would go into a fight and it would just, the frame rate would just die, and then by the time the game had caught up, you were dead, and you had no idea what had happened. And I just think about that, and then I think about this game, and I was going, it's nowhere near that. It's absolutely nowhere near that. But there again, I'm thinking, are people more critical of this because it's Bethesda and they're, to use Jim Sterling's phraseology, a AAA studio? Are we more critical of it because we'd expect more from Bethesda than we would from Funicom or Funcom or whatever, whoever, I can't remember the name of the German developer.
Yeah, Funcom, I think.
Is it Funcom?
Right.
Yeah. Are we putting a higher standard because it's Bethesda than Funcom? Maybe we are. Yes, maybe the expectation is that a company like Bethesda should have a game that is better optimized than it is. But there again, it's Bethesda and their games are usually terrible performance-wise anyway. Anyway, Fallout 76, it's all right. I think it's all right.
Well, I mean, let's talk about some Pokemon then.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. After all the talk about Fallout, Pokemon feels the kind of opposite, like it's this highly polished, Pokemon game, and I don't want to, because I think I'm the only one here interested in it, probably.
I have never played a
been a
Pokemon game in
person.
my life.
So I think it's going to be quite divisive, because what they've essentially done is, if you think about, rather than thinking, it's a Pokemon game, think about it as an RPG. And there are now kind of multiple types of RPG, but one of the types is that if you run around in an open world, eventually you'll get a random battle.
Yeah.
And that was Pokemon. Like, if you run around in the tall grass, you'll get to fight a Pokemon which you can defeat or catch. And what they've done is they've taken that out of the Pokemon games and replaced it with kind of Pokemon Go. So the Pokemon are, if you think about Pokemon Go, the game, you can look at your phone, you see the map, and you see like the Pokemon, and you touch them, and you catch them. That's what this is. You see a Pokemon, you see, I don't know, an Oddish. You walk up to it, engage with it as a battle, and then you can catch it by throwing the Pokeball, if you've got the Pokeball accessory, or flicking the Joy-Con at the screen. And it's all that same thing, like different kinds of berries that you can change how you more chance of catching a Pokemon, that kind of stuff. And they've changed. You still get XP for that, but that actually, to me, is quite a nice quality of life thing. Like, I feel like at this point with RPGs, we're maybe a bit, there's still a place for the random battle, but I'm of the opinion now, like, where I'm quite happy that I choose to engage in a battle now. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can still grind. There's still loads of them, and there's like you can use a lure to make more of them come at you, and there's still the grind if you want it. But what you're not getting is wandering through a bit of grass and random battle. Oh, for fuck's sake! I was trying to just that kind of thing. It feels like a remake of Pokemon Yellow in HD with all this Pokemon Go stuff incorporated. I'm not overly keen on how the actual Pokemon Go stuff's incorporated. Like, there is a park, Pokemon Go park, where you can import your Pokemon from the app, from the game, like that. But it's a one-way process, and you can catch them. So once you get them in your park, you can then go and catch them like you can any Pokemon. I don't know. It sort of makes Pokemon Go almost feel like a feeder for Pokemon Let's Go, because like I said, it's a one-way process. You can't then transfer them back. So if you've got a really rare Pokemon, like my son transferred his Porygon, but he had 2 of them. Now if you only had one, if you do like Pokemon Go, there's no way you're transferring that in a one-way system to your Switch game, because you can never go back the other way. It's I haven't finished it. 15 or so hours in, played a lot of it over the weekend. I really like it. I don't think I personally like it quite as much as Chris, because I feel like this is the sort of half step towards what they do next, like the brand new Pokemon game. It is more Pokemon, but with, like, say, Pokemon Go sort of pushed into it to change things up.
Right.
For me, the thing I need to see is the end game, because excuse me, in Pokemon, when you finish it, you do all the gyms, you do the Elite Four, whatever, you finish the game, the story is finished. What it tends to be, like a lot of RPGs, then it's about, like, I was liking it to Final Fantasy VII. You finish the game, now you got to go and beat the ultimate weapons. And in Pokemon, it's kind of the same. But you finish the game, and then you're going to go like shiny hunting, and you're going to go and get like the legendary Pokemon. You know what I mean? You're going to do the extra stuff it's the post-game content, if you will. And I haven't seen that yet to know if that's still there, Yeah. So I don't know if... I don't know. I don't think it feels dumbed down. Let's put it that way. I think it just feels... I mean, say, me and my kids have been kind of glued to it, so it's got something, it's got something right. Even got a little co-op mode where you can add a second player with another Joy-Con. You can both throw Pokeballs at a Pokemon that's giving you trouble. It's a bit awkward.
Just sounds like you're ganging up on a Pokemon.
Yeah, no, you are. It feels a bit awkward sometimes, because normally with Nintendo Switch games, the transition from TV to handheld is beautiful. It's seamless. This doesn't feel that, because this game, like, it needs motion controls. You need to throw the thing at the screen until you're in handheld mode, and I kind of wish there was just the option to sit there with a Pro Controller. The Pro Controller doesn't work with this game, and I kind of wish it did. Like, Super Mario Odyssey was a game that the motion controls were great, but I didn't use them after a few hours. I just, used the Pro Controller and sat there and played it like a video game, and I kind of wish I could do that with this game without being in handheld mode. And given Nintendo's accessibility history, I'm surprised you can't. Like, if you can't physically throw a controller, but you at the screen, but you can hold a controller, I feel like you're being shut out a little bit from a Pokemon game, and I don't know that I like that. But I mean, they've made a design choice, I guess. But the fact you can not use motion controls in handheld suggest, well, why can't I choose a Pro Controller? I don't know. But Pokemon Let's Go, like, we'll probably talk more about it when Chris is on here. I really like it. I think it's a really good game. It's kind of what I want it to be. I like the Pokemon Go stuff. I like Pokemon Go. I play it still now. The kids play it still now. I like that you catch Pokemon by throwing a ball. Well, if you've got the ball. Nintendo were kind enough to send us one, so I am using that. But you don't have to. In fact, it's possibly better not to. It still has stuff like press Y on the screen. It's like, I don't have a Y button. I've got a Pokeball with a joystick and one other button. But, let's do some news. I thought we talked about this last week, but PUBG has been confirmed for PS4, and it's out on December the 7th. Did we definitely not talk about this last week?
I don't think we did. There might have been rumblings of it that we talked about, like rumours. So I can't remember. But I know it's been confirmed now, and that's kind of the main thing, isn't it?
I mean, it's going to have skins.
Yeah, you got the Nathan Drake, and
an Ellie backpack.
Yeah, that's the legendary Ellie's backpack.
I still don't get that. It's like you've got an adult
just do Ellie.
Like maybe it's like they didn't want to put in like young Ellie's clothes.
So don't then put in old Ellie's clothes.
Yeah, that's it. It's like you just put in the old Ellie's clothes.
Or pick another character from The Last of Us that's female. You know, there are some. You know.
Yeah.
Or just stick with Uncharted and put Chloe in there or something. She's the most recent. The most recent Uncharted character to have a game is Chloe, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
I don't get it.
I'd be interested to see how it does.
Do you know, it's interesting though, isn't it? Because it's coming out on PS4 and I think it's priced at £25.
Yeah.
But it's also going into Game Pass on Xbox.
Xbox played that very well.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously knew, you know.
Yeah, and it's like I'm assuming because it seems like it's about the time where like the year is up.
Yeah.
The exclusivity, so it must have been that. And yeah, Microsoft have obviously gone, all right, Game Pass, so you don't actually have to pay for this game. They've essentially almost turned it into Fortnite in that way. You know what I mean? It's like it's free to play technically. Whereas like if you've got the PS4, you're gonna have to pay for it. I mean, I don't think anyone was ever going to buy a PS4 to play PUBG or anything like that.
No, but if you don't have an Xbox, which people don't, then you can play it now. Like Adam Carroll was literally waiting for this. Whether he'll now still buy it, I don't know.
I'll be honest, I probably will. I've got it on the PC. I've got it on Xbox. Because I've got a few friends more of my friends are on PS4 than on Xbox. So if I'm going to play a bit more online with it, in stuff like duos or squads or whatever, there's more likelihood that it'll happen there. So I probably will end up buying it.
Well, let's stick with Sony news because the news has come out that they are skipping E3 next year, and that's huge. That's huge news. I was going to include the story about basically Sony. The Red Dead Redemption PS4 Pro bundle was really quiet, and it's making me want to buy a new PS4 Pro and swap my old one out, but. This is bigger. They are not going to be doing an E3 thing next year. Now, this to me says that means the PS5 is 2020. But it also says a lot, I think, about their lineup for 2019. Like, Dreams, Days Gone. What else have we got?
Is that Ghost of Tsushima supposed to be out?
I hope so, because that looks amazing.
Last of Us, I'm still not convinced is going to be next year.
Now they've done this, I'm with you. I'm actually not convinced it will be on this console now.
I mean, I think it'll be a transition one where it'll be on both.
Yeah, on both, yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what happened with the first Last of Us, wasn't it? It was like a year later it came out on PS4 or something like that, that kind of area.
But so, with Microsoft doing their own off-site thing for E3, with EA doing the same, with Bethesda doing it, I don't want to be the guy that says this is the death knell for E3, but like they opened it up to the public to get more people interested in E3 again, and Nintendo do their direct thing. They don't do a conference there. The E3's changed immeasurably over the years, and this is. I don't know. I don't know what this says about Sony. I don't know what does this say about Sony. What does this say about E3?
I mean, are they essentially going to end up doing their own event somewhere?
PlayStation Direct.
Yeah.
But they do that already. PlayStation Experience. Xbox have started doing XO18, their XO thing now as well. Like, publishers, no, they don't need. They can just go straight to their audience now.
Yeah.
More than ever before. And I don't know. I don't know what people's thoughts on E3 are as a whole.
I still like the spectacle of E3, but it is starting to kind of diminish a bit. I don't know. It's an interesting one either way.
I don't really know what to make of it, to be honest. I read something that, what's his face? Is it Game Over Greggy? He had some thoughts on it, was thinking that... But I can't even remember exactly what he was saying, but he thought that it might well be a really good move for Sony. But then somebody else pointed out that it was more likely that Sony didn't have anything particular to show at E3. Yeah. And if I remember this last E3 that they were at, they didn't really show anything, did they? It was just the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah, it was basically last year's show with a little bit extra kind of thing.
Yeah. So I don't really know what to make of it. In some respects, I think maybe it's just Sony thinking that they're so far ahead that they don't need to be there. But then on the other hand, I'm starting to think that maybe, like you said, a lot of the stuff that they've been showing us for the past year or two still won't be ready, at which point, what's the point of being at the show if they haven't got anything to show?
Yeah.
They can't show Days Gone again. I mean, it'd be out. It'd be out by then, wouldn't it? Days Gone would be out.
Is it
March,
April, something like that? I know they delayed it, didn't they, to avoid the big February ridiculousness.
I mean, for me, this really feels like they're going to do PlayStation Experience next year, where they're going to announce the PS5 or whatever they call it. I don't know. It's a weird story. This, E3's never going to be the same. I don't know what this means.
I mean, is it permanently? Are they permanently skipping E3, or is it just this particular one, 2019? Because they've also said that they're not doing their own show, haven't they? I'm sure I read that.
That's this year. They skipped PlayStation Experience this year.
Right, okay.
I mean, maybe this is them testing the waters and internally going, look, what's the point in us spending millions on this? We've got nothing to show. We're going to go big next year. Maybe we'll see how it goes.
Oh, yeah. I managed to proper quell a sneeze there. I'm proud of that.
Well, can you quell yourself from making another game? Because Cliffy B has apparently come out and said he may never make another video game.
Oh no. I'm just filled with sarcasm over this.
I know you are. Right, Cliffy B is a prick. He is. He comes across as a bit of a prick. But I've got to say, the idea that he's not ever going to make another game, I find that a little bit sad, really.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of also... It kind of reeks of throwing the toys out the pram. You didn't buy my last game, so fuck you, I'm not making another one. You know what I mean? It's a bit... Does anyone really care?
I care.
I do as well.
I do care because I love Gears of War so much. I know it gets the piss taken out of these days, but I think that game is a lot of that game comes from Cliff, and whether you like him or not, at this point is irrelevant because that game changed the industry. That game brought mechanics that people still copy.
Yeah.
So the tweet he was responding to, like the whole account apparently has been deleted. And basically, it sounds like they were having a go at him about. And now this is terrible. I can't remember the name of the game. The first person shooter.
Lawbreakers.
Oh my god! Thank you, Lawbreakers. And the tweet was, "You all won't refund players who stuck with you and spent money for you to keep up the content. Cliff, I looked up to you during the Gears of War days, and sad to see where you're at. Wish you'd come back. Now all that money is wasted." Now I don't know what I don't know what that's in reference to. And so Brzezinski says, "I paid my employees their 401ks and their healthcare even months after the studio folded so they could care for their families. I didn't take a salary myself for 2 years. I get you're sad, but God, this kind of shit is another reason I am never making another game." Sounds like, I mean, there's not much to say. It sounds like he's not making another game, and it's sad because Lawbreakers wasn't a bad game.
No, I actually quite like Lawbreakers. What I played of it in the beta.
So it was already dead by the time I was playing it on PS4.
Yeah,
That's
I think it's a shame because it wasn't a bad game by any stretch. I just think that it came out at the wrong time, and it never really kind of positioned what it was. Like, was it a hero shooter? Was it, like a Titanfall-esque type shooter? What was it? It just seemed a bit like you didn't really know what it was. But I mean, what I played in the beta, I was like, I actually really like this game, but it just absolutely fell on its arse, didn't it? Nobody bought it.
Well, speaking of games that fell on their arse a bit, Command & Conquer was really popular and then just went away. Gave us fantastic things like the In Space stuff from Tim Curry, wasn't it? No, was
it's Tim Curry.
Yeah. But EA is going to remaster Command & Conquer.
Is it the first one? Is it the first one on Red Alert?
Yeah, Tiberian Dawn as well as Red Alert, remaster for PC. We don't really know an awful lot about it.
Be interesting.
To see what they do. It's just happening, which is fair enough.
I do think maybe this is to kind of undo a bit of the damage that was done at E3 when they showed off that mobile game and everyone lost their shit.
So many E3s ago, they had a game they had a Command & Conquer game that was ready for release. I think it was closed beta, and they actually let us play it. There's still footage of the game that got canned on our YouTube channel somewhere. Calvin played it and captured footage from it, and then it just got canned. So there was always plans, I don't know. It's fair. I mean, nothing to say because we don't know anything about it, but they're doing it. And lastly this week, THQ Nordic, who just seem to be snapping up people all over the place, have acquired Bugbear Entertainment, the people who make Wreckfest, and are going to do whatever it takes to bring that game to consoles, which I'm pleased about because my PC's starting to age out, and Wreckfest looks like great fun.
It is, yeah. I mean, people need to play that game. It's so much fun. It's the closest we've got to like a new Destruction Derby, sorry. It's very much like that. I mean, I know that's kind of what Flat Out was, and this is like the next Flat Out without being Flat Out. I've said Flat Out an awful lot.
They were all right as well. Them games, they were all right.
Apart from the new one, which
I've heard about,
never
not
speak
played.
of again. But yeah, this is good news. Not just because these guys have been bought by a big company that seem to be doing good stuff, but also because it means more people are going to get to play Wreckfest.
Absolutely.
That's a very good thing.
Yep. That's kind of it this week. We can do some listener correspondence. There are other games we're playing. We can't talk about them, Gary, can we?
No.
Although we will. We will soon. Thomas, it's just one question. Well, it's a few questions from one person this week. We haven't had time to grab too many. But Thomas at LlamaFluff42, I think is calling me out and says, how's Adam feeling after the last Mega Man video? At the end, he looked like a defeated man pondering the big questions in life. I do worry he was going to walk into the sea, Reggie Perrin style. If he's not on the pod, I'll know what happened. Well, I am on the pod. How am I feeling? I'm feeling just fine, thank you very much. I am debating whether or not I drop Mega Man down to the very easiest difficulty and have one more crack at it. Because it's weird. I don't feel like it's a bad game, but I don't like it. That video is, I promise you, not acted. I was so glad the way I've got it set up is I was playing on a monitor that had a very tiny delay, and for most games it's fine. So the second episode I had to go and sit on the sofa and watch it on the screen without delay because I realised that was responsible for a lot of deaths. I did that and I got to the boss, as you see, and I did a few attempts at the boss, and then when I did do the boss, and I got it wrong in the video. I thought my camera was still on screen, and I was so angry I couldn't remember what I'd done. And you can see for a second the health bar goes all the way down, and in my mind I've done it, and then suddenly goes back up like 6 or 7 pips. And I probably, if I was calm, could have killed him again. But I was so fucking angry at that. That is not how games are supposed to work. If a health bar's like got multiple colours and you have to deplete it and phases. You are not supposed to deplete a health bar all the way, and then I'm just going to have 6 more. I'm just going to have a quarter of my health back, because why not? It's not how games are supposed to work. And I know someone's going to say, but Dark Souls and Bloodborne does that. I've no doubt about it. But that... Anyway, he also says, can you please talk about nothing except Darksiders 3 for the next 2 weeks? Need more hype about this game. Seriously, though, who in this team is looking forward to it? I can't wait. I am dying to play it. Gary already is, so he can't even speak right now. And I don't think, Nicola, you're that fussed?
It's a game that I will play, I think, at some point, because I have played the other two, and I enjoyed both of them, yes. Okay,
I didn't know that. I am in physical
a bit worried
pain
about it, though, I will say.
Well, Gary, be quiet. I am in actual physical pain right now that I can't play it.
Okay.
I love that series, and it upsets me that its release date is kind of at the end of everything, and that it's going to get missed, just like Hitman is, because Hitman 2, which we will talk about, I promise, in weeks to come, because we're going to need stuff to talk about. Hitman 2 is exceptional, and it's upsetting to me that these games I've waited and adore so much are kind of being forgotten. And the final part of Thomas's question is, when will Adam apologise for saying Smash Bros is bad? He won't. That's not going to happen.
Oh, well, yeah, you started this pod by basically shitting on it.
I did, and I did that knowing this question was coming. It's not a fighting game. It's an action platformer with weird combat. It's not... Moving on. But that's the podcast for this week. We have covered the big games, we've covered the big news, and if you want to cover us, you can go to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, where for $1 a month you will get an extended podcast where we talk some industry inside baseball this week and other little bits and pieces. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at GodIsAGeek. With the Patreon thing, we think $1 is pretty good value. We give you early video access. We're going to, in fact, I'll be sending that out soon. A video that Mick's done with his daughter Bailey, which they played Crayola Scoot, and that girl is just adorable, and like within 5 minutes it's like she's just adorable. It's a wonderful video, and like you can see instantly the relationship, obviously the father and daughter, so it's obvious they have a great relationship, but like it's lovely. It's really nice, and you'll get to see that early, or we have probably already seen it by now anyway, but stuff like that you get to see early. Thank you very much, Nicola and Gary, for being here this week.
You're welcome.
And other than that, like I say, just type God is a Geek into your favourite social thingy. That's what they're called now, social thingy. and you know, that's it. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye bye for now.